Ever and Clark, congratulations on The Artist.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Eric.
Eric.
Why don't we start by having you two set the scene a little bit? It's a interesting premise for a series, and both of your characters are there's a lot to get into there. Ever, why don't we start with you and tell us a little bit about your character and kind of set the scene for us?
Well, I play the character of Evelyn Nesbit, who was the original Gibson girl. And the scene is the turn of the century. And we kind of start off with this lavish, spectacular ball that is set in Madison Square Garden. And it's where the crime of the century takes place, which is actually the original, the first crime that ever had a closed off jury because of how much press it was getting. And yeah, it was so, it's just like the most lavish, the most lush. It's so interesting because there's so much debauchery that happens in such a beautiful setting.
Clark, why don't you tell us a little bit about your character?
Harry Thaw was the son of a very rich Pittsburgh businessman, kind of a Pennsylvania mini robber baron. So he was a guy with questionable morals and voracious appetites moving around New York City in the early 1900s. And, sometimes the children, the progeny of very rich and powerful people haven't developed the moral character that one would hope, and they don't have the boundaries that one would also hope they would have. And so this guy, he's a ball of trouble.
Wouldn't you approach something that's a historical drama like this that has some real characters, some imagined? Do you have, did you go into the history at all, or was it all just there on the page for you?
Ever, I think, I was surprised by this because I read a lot. Ever's more literate than I, and I think she was more versed in the history of it.
Yeah, I read everything that I could find on Evelyn Nesbit from the Wikipedia page to the like biography that was written about her. And it was such an incredible experience really getting to find out the nitty-gritty about such a idolized person who you really wouldn't imagine so much stuff went on behind the scenes because of course this is a model and a showgirl and someone who fronted having all these boyfriends and stuff, but she was actually terribly abused and supported her entire family from the age of 9 being a model. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes there, and it was just so interesting to get to dive into a real person and have the responsibility of, while you want to add and you want to embellish and you want to have fun, to keep some groundedness of this person has been through a lot, and there's as much superficiality that there is there. You want to keep and retain the honest truth of like this is a girl who's been terribly, terribly abused. So I think it was just quite heartbreaking for me to research all of this, but necessary for the role.
Hmm. Clark, did you go through kind of a similar process, or?
Um, Look, a lot of it's there in the script. And sometimes when, what I feel out of the script is this really beautiful sense of humanity and passions and things that feel that they've been going on in dramatic literature and in life since the Greeks. And yeah, there's a trap you can fall into where you go, well, how would someone in 1906 feel or say or do this? And one of the things that drew me to it and that I love so much about it is that it reminded me a little bit of David Milch's brilliant show Deadwood, and that it's reimagining a period in a much more kind of visceral, profane way that I think felt truer to life. And to me, this guy just so spoke about his volcanic passions and appetites. I think he would be diagnosed and on a lot of meds today. But he wasn't back then, so I didn't have to be. And I also felt like one of the things that really I find really powerful about the piece is the way that the women characters are really operating and negotiating for agency and power within very narrow constraints of a very, very sexist version of early America. And I felt like it was important to show how much a male character didn't have any of that. Even this rich kid um, didn't seem to really have to worry even too much about the law or justice.
Mm. Ever, yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. Why don't you speak to that a bit about how your character is operating within this system and what did you kind of learn about her through that lens?
Well, to build off of what Clark said, because it's really great, this point that he made, that it was very easy to evade consequences being a man in that century. And I think for someone like Evelyn, to what I've read, a woman's femininity and her sexuality was one of her only weapons in that era because your intelligence was not. And if you weren't born into status, then it was very, very difficult for you to get anywhere. And so all of these ways that she was then persecuted for, being called a whore and being called all sorts of vile things, was really, I mean, there was no other way to survive. And especially when your husband shoots someone and you get blamed for it because you had another lover before him. It's very difficult, especially considering her age, because it's something that you would never you don't think about anymore, but all these things, they mattered so much to people of that era, and it must have been so devastating for someone who went from being this angel baby on the face of all these postcards and Vogue magazine and matchboxes. Her face was used as one of the angels in like these chapels, and then all of a sudden to be deemed a whore and your career is over because you were taken advantage of by the wrong person. It's so twisted. And so the injustice of it all was so difficult to swallow that when we have a particular scene where we really delve into the injustice of it with Mandy and with Janet. It's a group scene, and it was very hard for me to leave that set and leave that all behind because it really sticks with you. This sort of thing of this real person will never have that justice, but at least you can give her something through art. And it's what I really, really appreciate about Aram's work on this show is he really managed to avenge the image of this woman who kind of disappeared from our world as being labeled a whore, which is, and it's so unfair.
Clark, talk about, some of your climactic scenes. How do you get there as an actor to make that believable and to pull that off?
The way something like this works, this beautiful idea that Aram and Hillary Shore have about, creating an independent streamer that's basically a kind of to make television, essentially streaming content like an indie film, with some of the freedom and the creative freedom of that, but it's also fast moving and, you by the time you figured out what you're doing, it's already over. And I guess in a way that was kind of a blessing in that there was no time to do anything but kind of throw myself head first and just, you know, this guy's not thinking much. It's all about primal fears and hungers and possessiveness and appetite. And and uh and so in a way the kind of style of production really lent itself to that. I meet Ever and 2 seconds later where I'm tearing apart the bedroom um out of frustration, you know. Um yeah, I got nothing more than that.
Yeah. Ever, what was that like for you to play off of that, in these moments of just like real raw emotion?
I mean, it was so interesting because I think the beauty for me of acting is you get this ability to really look out of somebody else's eyes and you get to really experience moments that you may never experience ever again in your life, or things that you didn't think you'd ever be able to experience. And so definitely the scene that Clark and I started, I mean, the pretty much every day on the set of The Artist was something that I never thought I'd be able to experience, but especially the scene that Clark was talking about that we start with, which is pretty much our opening scene, but it was the first scene that we filmed. And there is so much visceral emotions that are going into a scene like that. And you have to be so vulnerable, especially to be with somebody that you never met in a position that you didn't think you'd be in. And there are so many things that happen. Like we have fake glass that breaks and it gets on the bed. And I didn't want to cry in the scene, but it made me start to cry because you don't expect to react sometimes the way that you do, but you can't help it because there's so much like real raw emotions coming at all directions that you feel and you pick up on, and it's what I love so much is the humanity of that is being shown that you don't imagine from that era, especially because everything was covered up by being so beautifully gilded and being so lavish and so decadent. You really don't think about everything that went on when you looked a little closer.
Mm.
Can I just throw in with that, which is it- to be thrown into that kind of scene with somebody in your first few moments of knowing them, another actor, especially one who, uh, how old were you at the time, ever?
I had just turned 17.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I'm 6 years younger than my daughter. And, I know that she's grown up around the business a little bit, but this is a level 9 scene in terms of vulnerability and trust, and whether it's the sexual content or the violence involved. And to kind of figure out within the first 25-second take that just on a human level, I'm dealing with someone who is so completely there, present, safe, communicative, professional, and just a kind of a really remarkable human being. Aside from age, I just felt like I was with an equal and a contemporary, and that we could rock and roll. And if we hadn't been able to, it really that crucial scene it would not have served its purpose. I'm sorry, Ever. It's just a fact.
No, I
No, you
appreciate
don't have
that
to do
fact,
it. No, yeah, yeah.
and
I,
it's it's very true when you have a scene like that. It kind of like it's a make or break. You can't really think about like, oh, well, this is it. You just have to go for it. And I am eternally grateful that you were there, Clark, because I don't know many people that would be able to just go there right away. And it made me feel like I could as well. And it really, when you have that safe space, actor to actor.
I almost broke your arm. I almost broke your damn arm.
I mean, I kicked you and the bed fell down.
But I feel like in that first take, didn't it's all a blur to me because it was all a blur. But didn't something happen right away or did I just think it
Well,
did?
it was very because they're like kick him, and Doug's like, yeah, kick me, and so we're like very much like it's a mix between like scrapping. And it was intense, and like some stuff happened.
Okay, good. I
It
thought
was just
maybe
great.
I was afraid. Maybe it didn't turn out to be true. I was afraid that something. Okay, never mind. Sorry, we're reliving it. It's now we can remember it. I don't. Yeah.
Ever and Clark, congratulations on The Artist. I think everyone will be excited to see it when it airs on the network.
Thanks for watching the You Interview channel. With over 3,000 original celebrity videos, we have one of the largest collections of celebrity interviews anywhere. So remember to like and comment on our videos and subscribe to the channel. If you want to get more involved, you can become a member of the channel. Membership has its perks. You can see exclusive celebrity videos and get the opportunity to ask our celebrity guests questions. We can't wait to hear from you.